Hello, hello, hello. It is another week and another episode of the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster.
And it is Thursday night football as we're recording this.
Dolphins night for you.
Dolphins and Bills, and boy, every commentator in the world has forgotten about Patrick Mahomes, has forgotten about anything great anyone else did. It is time to get back to believing that Josh Allen is Superman.
Well, let's put it this way. Josh Allen had one hell of a week one and basically picked that team up and put it on his back to get a win. He's throwing to nobody. He's got a tight end and a rookie, and that's it.
I think this season ends in injury for him because of that.
It's
I
possible.
think he's going to have to run a lot. Anyway, everybody was talking down to Josh Allen late in the season. Why can't he just pull it together? And then week 1 year later, oh, my goodness, he was robbed. Should have had the MVP. Nobody's going to touch him. Oh, my goodness. If you haven't seen it, then it's –
he should not have had the MVP last year.
Everybody's
That's silly
going
talk.
nuts.
But a 4-touchdown week one, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Yeah, that's a pretty good start. And if you remember when we talked about pop and drop a few weeks ago, I said Keon Coleman's going to be a guy this year if you have the opportunity to buy him. He was their leading receiver week one.
Week one, guys, you heard it there.
It's all they got.
I mean, Gary said it. Week 1. So
you should listen by now.
It's written in stone. Week 1. Actually, a lot of stuff happened in football. Let's just jump right in there. First off, I'm just going to start throwing out some names, and we'll just do some hot takes on it because we're kind of freestyling tonight. But let's talk about number one. What was that? Waka Waka?
That was freestyle. That was my beatboxing. It didn't work. I'm
Waka
bad at
Waka?
it. I don't know.
I'm going to give you another try.
I don't want to.
I'm going to count you.
Now I'm self-conscious about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm just super self-conscious about it.
Well, you should be, but I want to hear it, and so does everyone else.
No, they don't. About as much as they want to hear you sing in the intro.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, I'm going to start dropping some names. Let's go with the first-round draft pick. Everybody's very excited about just unbelievable talent. HBO Hard Knocks captured it so well. Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams.
He's not good at football.
He did not look good at all.
No. And everything that anybody with eyes should have been concerned about was on display. But you know what? The announcers made a really big deal to make sure they pointed out that he had his fingernails painted because he always paints his fingernails. And they told us exactly what was on his fingernails and what kind of nail polish he used. And
why do they know all that stuff? They interview him?
Yeah, my guess is that he told them all about it because he's a big fan of him.
Is this like the Taylor Swift effect where now there has to be some type of like distraction to talk about that has nothing to do with the game?
I don't know, but I think that Caleb Williams is a big fan of Caleb Williams. That's very obvious. And anybody who does things like that to intentionally draw attention to themselves, it's just not going to go super well in an NFL locker room.
It's like,
where are you going with this? You got a look on your face like you're kind of nervous.
I was telling you about
this
earlier. I'm just thinking how to phrase. Like, this is a Russell Wilson cringe. This is Tim Tebow cringe.
Yeah.
However, I wonder if he may be a less effective QB than both of them. I said it.
I mean, I think he'll be way less effective than Russell Wilson. I mean, let's call spade a spade.
Russell Wilson's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's going to go into Hall of Fame, even though he's cringy at this point in his career. He's won a Super Bowl.
His first 10 years, he had top. Was he number 2 in passing yards?
Yeah,
I mean,
he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's not. Caleb Williams isn't going to be worse than Tim Tebow because Tim Tebow was a terrible NFL quarterback.
You know what? I just realized what Russell Wilson reminds me of.
What's that?
Like when he's on camera and you can't figure out why he's so uncomfortable.
Michael Scott?
No, he reminds me of the show Breaking Amish when they finally are introduced to civilization after leaving.
Oh, that's a good call.
And they're like, I don't know exactly what to do, but I think I'm going to be cool now.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tim Tebow's just.
Tim Tebow.
He's just.
It's a weird dude.
He needs to start his own mega church franchise football team. If you get all of the biggest churches together, I bet you could afford a team. and by God, if the Righteous Gemstones aren't the management team.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That would be great. If you had Danny McBride as like a general manager of a football. You know what? That would be a great show.
Yes, it would. And Danny McBride might be a better quarterback than Caleb Williams.
Could be. It looked really bad. I did see some things in preseason. By that, I mean like some throws that he made that I was like,
He's an athlete.
He has an impressive arm.
Yes, he's an athlete.
But the way he responds, I don't care about stats, blah. It's like everything is such a canned answer. Now, I know that, like, hey, it's week 1. They're about to try to chew you up. Don't say nothing. Don't get into anything.
He can't read a defense.
It was bad.
He can't read a defense. He can't step up in the pocket. All the things that people with eyes were going, oh, this isn't going to translate well. Don't translate.
Yeah.
It hasn't translated. It's not good.
Well, and meanwhile, down in Pittsburgh, Justin Fields did very okay.
Justin Fields did exactly what Mike Tomlin wanted him to do. Don't turn the ball over.
Drive the ball down the field.
Pick up first downs with your legs when you can.
Yep.
Make smart decisions. Don't try to play hero ball. We'll take field goals.
Yep.
You don't have to be a hero. And what did Justin Fields go out and do? He completed almost 70% of his passes, led 6 scoring drives. They all ended up in field goals, but he led 6 scoring drives.
Yep.
And he ran for, 60, 65 yards?
Something like that. Yeah.
And they won a game.
Yep.
And he's starting this week, too. He may not lose that job, guys.
Russell Wilson, full pads, everybody's been talking about it. Was it because of that new rule with QB3, or do you think he really – because here's the other thing I noticed. He was mic'd up. Like, he had a headpiece. Is that just common if you're on the sideline to
if you're a backup quarterback, you have the offensive coordinator in your ear, so you can hear what's going on and everything
But he's, like, over hyping up the bench in full pads.
Well,
and
and again, we're going to talk about it with another quarterback here in a few minutes, but you see the videos of him trying to hype up the bench, and you see the guys on the bench looking at him like, shut up.
Yeah.
Stop talking to us.
There's nothing else to
like
prove.
you.
You're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Just chill out. Pour into somebody else. Don't make it about you.
Yeah.
It's like nonstop humble brag.
It's performative.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very performative. When you're the third-string quarterback, as somebody who's been a third-string quarterback, your job is to shut up.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. Stay out of the way. I don't care if you're a Hall of Famer. This week, you were the third-string quarterback.
Yep.
Stay out of the way.
Yeah. So they're trying to get Tomlin to say what he's going to do. Fields could win that spot, but it's not just handed. Like, it is easy for everyone to be annoyed with Russell Wilson and just be like, oh, no chance, blah, blah, blah. But he's got to – if he's healthy, they want to see what he can do.
But here's
they
the
didn't
thing.
bring him over here for nothing.
Well, but he's only here for $1 million.
Yep.
So here's the thing. Say he misses the first 3 weeks with this calf, and the Steelers are 3-0, and Justin Fields has no turnovers and 3 or 4 touchdown passes and 250 yards rushing, and he's completing 68, 70% of his passes.
If he's putting those types of numbers up, I think that it probably goes in Fields' favor. We would be seeing something we haven't seen in Chicago. There's reasons for that. We didn't see that happen consistently for him. They didn't let him do what he wanted to do. But I don't think it's as easy as, well, Fields led them to a win. Like,
no, but if Fields starts 3 weeks in a row and the Steelers are 3-0 or 2-1 with a close loss and he's looked really good and the team is responding to him, and more importantly, the team is responding to him in practice and in the locker room, one of the things about Mike Tomlin that's made him such a great coach is he is good at people. He is really good at people. Think about how well he managed Antonio Brown for all those years and his insanity.
Well, he's had a lot of players in that similar category that are –
Mike Tomlin's good at people, and he will not risk the cohesion of the locker room just to put
he had some
Russell
real
Wilson
hot
out
heads
there.
there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Was Joey Porter?
Yeah.
Wasn't he
tail end of James Harrison's career?
Yep.
James Harrison was a crazy man.
Man, that guy's still a beast.
Yeah.
He can still outlift most of the team.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a very good chance that Russell Wilson's just $1 million backup, one of the cheapest backup quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe not if Justin Fields struggles or the Steelers don't win the next couple of games. That's a different ballgame. But if they do and Fields is playing well and the team's responding, I don't see them dropping him. Like, one of the arguments.
If there is a prop bet, will Russell Wilson do something stupid to be seen in Denver? Or is it a home game? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But put the money on yes. He is going to need to be seen.
Yeah.
He's going to try to have his own little press conference. They're going to be interviewing Fields after the game, and he'll jump in and say something. It'll be mildly condescending, but it'll sound like a compliment to the team. Like, we're starting to get some momentum now. Just hang in there. The best is yet to come.
Yeah.
It'll be something like that.
And from talking about this stuff, let's tie it to card values. Justin Fields stuff is still pretty attainable if you want to take that flyer.
Now, again,
George Pickens looked pretty good too.
Led them to a win. 0 touchdowns, right?
Yep.
And red zone has been an issue for him.
Yep.
Not just
but
just
red zone
one game.
turnovers have been an issue for him.
Yep.
So no turnovers. Taking what the defense gives you.
Yep. So we'll see what happens there. Let's keep rolling. This is a negative, but it's not bad. We're just calling it like we see it. Jaden Daniels, I know you were excited.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a bad thing. Now,
I watched a lot of that game.
Statistically, it wasn't like the biggest game in the world for him, but it was like, oh, there's a quarterback there now.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of that game. Threw the ball really well. Runs the ball extremely well. He's got to learn to slide. He doesn't know how to slide. He just kind of falls forward. The ball placement is really good. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. They weren't going to win that game, but he kept it respectable.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy that looked good in that offense was Brian Robinson. So I think that the Redskins, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be better than people think.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple injuries. So first off, McCaffrey, what they're talking about with this, was it acute tendonitis? It's something that could be a little more prolonged than what people would hope. Like, it could be something where it's like, hey, we're really good. Like, I need you like 4 or 5 weeks, and then we'll jump in.
He's a game time decision again this week. He's listed as questionable.
Who are they playing this week?
I don't know.
I'm throwing up.
He's listed as questionable, but I will say this. That San Francisco running game
Vikings. They don't need
is
him.
so good. I don't know. Sam Darnold had that team humming.
I think that fizzles out, but he did do a good job.
He had that team humming.
Yep.
Jordan Mason had 120 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those holes, Christian McCaffrey might have hung 280 in that game.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was losing their minds over Jordan Mason. He had himself a nice game, but he ain't half the player that Christian McCaffrey is. And some of those holes, we were just like, oh, my God, McCaffrey would have had 30 there.
Did you see the group message where I was talking about what I needed to happen in the fantasy game?
Oh, yeah, negative points from the Jets.
So we're in a half-point PPR league. I'm having a good week. I'm at like 144, 148, I think 146 maybe. And the guy I'm playing against has a monster week as well. And going into that game, he was like 1 point behind me. Well, the game starts up, and in our league, like, your defense starts with, like 10 or 8 points. Basically, it's yours to lose.
14. You start with 14, and then if you're going to
as soon as they score, it drops off. He found his way down to 3 points, which was just enough for me to win.
Oh, really?
I won it by like a half a point. But yeah, that I mean, the Jets are it looks like a dumpster fire. Everybody was talking about that defense. They're talking about Aaron Rodgers and what's going to happen. And make no mistake, their offense is going to improve. But the surprise for me was just how bad the defense was. Now, it's the Niners. But it's the Niners without McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And just what I was seeing was like just complete domination, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, early in the game, you're watching Aaron Rodgers throw the ball, and you're like, oh, he still got it a little bit. Outside of Garrett Wilson, he doesn't got anybody to go to, though. And you could see him starting to get really frustrated as the game wore on.
And don't underestimate what he's able to do with a bad attitude.
Oh, yeah. But I will say this, Garrett Wilson looked awful good. Garrett Wilson looked awful good. You know who didn't? Alan Lazard. I know he had a touchdown, but he had like 4 drops in that game, and 3 or 4 of them were for first downs to keep drives going. So yeah, that was a fun game to watch. And again, Christian McCaffrey might have had 200 plus.
Oh,
in that game if he had been healthy and running.
No doubt in my mind.
So
the final score was, and if by any chance he happens to stumble onto this episode, that make my day. Elson, you lost.
Yeah.
But it was 148.06 to 146.78. And he had the lead until that last quarter.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that was a good one. Another injury to talk about, maybe. We don't know. People are sure getting worked up about it. Where is Burrow's hand right now? Is this something where everybody's overreacting? Is this something where it's like, I might be a little bit concerned because it could be worse?
It's a wrist tendon. He's got to keep it stretched out. I do think that anytime a team with high expectations comes out of the gate and stumbles the way the Bengals did, people are going to try to find things to pick at. What I will say is this. If you're a Bengals fan, has paid attention since Zach Taylor took over as the head coach, I don't think we've won a week 1 game since Zach Taylor took over as the head coach. I know multiple Bengals fans who smashed the money line for the Patriots because we don't play any of our starters the entire preseason at all. the Bengals don't usually look good till about week 3 or 4. Like, that's pretty consistent under Zach Taylor. We're always playing catch up throughout the year. It's a philosophy that I don't subscribe to or understand, but he's the head coach of the team. I'm obviously not. So it is what it is. I think that Burrow, anytime you have a major tendon surgery, you're not going to be perfect when you first come back. It's no different than tearing a ligament, not a tendon. Anytime you come back, you're going to have, a little bit of an acclimation period, learning what your body's going to do now. It's going to be a little more sore than you're used to it being. But it looked like he's still able to make every throw. The team obviously still has confidence in him. And you could tell that Jamar Chase had a lot of rust from holding out in the games he was playing throughout the spring or through camp. So, yeah, that was an interesting one. A couple other guys that we didn't necessarily write down, but I wanted to talk a little bit about. Joe Mixon went off in his first game with the Texans. We're not talking
about positive things.
Oh, we're only going to talk about negative things?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's silly.
What's your next one?
Well, there was another positive. Anthony Richardson is a freak show.
70-yard pass. We were a little bit wrong about that guy.
Well, I never questioned his athleticism and his arm. I questioned accuracy.
No.
But he was a dime.
You are not. No. I hear what you're saying, but you are not going to backtrack your strong stance on Richardson now.
You're correct.
It was like he is going to be a bad quarterback.
Yes, I agree. I'm with you because of accuracy. I did not think he had the accuracy.
That 70-yard dime falling that was like Fitzmagic.
Falling backwards with a hand in his face.
Yeah. He's strong.
The kid is a freak athlete. That being said, he was 9 of 19.
Yep.
But he is one hell of an athlete. And Colts
you're
fans,
in the game. If
it's
going to
be fun to watch him play. Mixon went off. Anthony Richardson. Bryce Young's bad at football, guys. There's not a silver lining there. Dave Canales is probably really regretting taking that job.
Sell it if you got it.
And last but not least, there's still time to buy, I think. There isn't going to be for much longer. Baker's the real deal, guys. Baker has found his home.
Tyreek put him in his top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, I think it's more just confidence and attitude and everything else. But he's the real deal, guys. He has found his home. He has found a team that believes in him. He has found a coach that believes in him, that is letting him be him.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see more games like that this year. They're not all going to be 4 touchdowns, 0 pick, 280-yard games, but you're going to see more of that than bad.
Yeah. We are going to talk about hobby-related things, just not yet. We're not done.
Well, that's a hobby-related thing. I just said he's cheap still. Go buy it.
Let's move on to if you haven't heard, we're not going to have to run into this a whole lot, but there's a new suit with Deshaun Watson. The prosecuting attorney is saying that there is video evidence and there will be a mediation very soon. But you were bringing up a very interesting point. The Browns, according to what you're saying, the Browns had the right to basically his contract was null and void when he came up and all these accusations.
Not when he came up, because they signed him to that deal after the original set of allegations. However,
had been resolved?
No, but they were aware of them. They hadn't been resolved yet because he hadn't even served his suspension, but everybody knew what was going on. But every NFL contract has, from the time you sign the contract moving forward, contract detrimental to the team.
So it's not based on if it happens during this time after signature. It's if anything new arises.
Correct.
So for that reason, here's what sucks. This is the most Cleveland thing ever. For 15 to 20 years, all I ever heard here in Ohio was if they would just give us a quarterback. And then they got one named Baker Mayfield. And he wasn't like a guaranteed star. They were bringing in a young kid. He is, in my opinion, he's developed quite a bit. I think some of these situations he's been put in where he was set up to fail have motivated him to really, work on his craft even more. But he is what he is now. You go after the quarterback and everybody is celebrating. Then all this stuff comes out. And now this guy went to pick up a teammate on the ground and they swatted his hand away.
Yeah, the team wants no
They don't want to give him an opportunity to be a team player. It's not in the realm of possibility at this point, and they maybe have a way out of this contract. Now, how many years was it? A 4 or 3 year?
It was a a 5-year, $230 million
Guaranteed,
deal.
right?
Fully guaranteed.
Okay, so we're 2 years in,
This is year 3.
but they don't all necessarily evenly hit. Like that's written in the contract. Year 1, I get this. Year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5.
Yeah,
right?
but every bit of the money was guaranteed. However, they're going to try to find a way to void it with this, is my guess.
I don't know how strong of a case they have.
I don't know either, and here's where it's going to suck. It puts the NFLPA in a horrible position because the NFLPA is going to be forced to defend
Represent him.
a guy who is a true dirtbag. They're going to be forced to defend him because they don't want to set the precedent that if a player is playing badly, that a team can to try to void guaranteed money.
And I think their strong argument is going to be, hey, you were aware of all of this stuff going on when you offered this contract.
I'm with you. I don't think that they'll be able to. I think they're going to try to. That being said, beyond
you already lost the money.
Yeah.
Get him out.
Yeah, beyond the stuff that he's being accused of right now that sounds very strong and that there's very strong evidence for. We won't know yet because nobody's seen this video other than the attorneys yet.
Right, and half of it is the spin going in.
I will give a small benefit of the doubt, but at a certain point, the saying where there's smoke, there's fire.
Was this like 31 or 32 people?
Yeah, at a certain point, when there's fire coming out of the building, there's fire.
It might be on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the reality from a football standpoint. He might be the worst starting quarterback in the league, and this is a league that starts Bryce Young and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
He might be the worst starting quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
On a team that has a roster that should be able to compete for a championship.
Yeah.
And Kevin Stefanski, for some inane reason, is being just as stubborn with Deshaun Watson in the support as he was with Baker Mayfield in throwing him under the bus. Yeah. And I can't leave it to anything other than just a pure idiotic sense of pride that he has to be right.
There's no other reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The locker room wants no part of Deshaun. When you watch Deshaun on the sidelines, he's not trying to talk to his teammates. He's not trying to pump guys up after things go wrong. Like you said, he gets sacked, and his teammates step over him and swat his hand away.
I think he thought the team would come around, and it's not going to happen like that. I mean, based off of that body language, I'm reading into it, but I think it does tell a story of, like, we're not going to give you the opportunity to be a teammate. You're not our teammate.
Yeah. You're here because your ownership and our coach is forcing you to be here, but we don't want any part of this. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens over there. They seem to like Jameis Winston. You got Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
That they kept?
Yep.
Yeah, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
DTR. I like that better. And he made the cut, so we'll see what happens there.
And if you bench Deshaun, cut him. Because you can't go back to him. You owe him the money anyway. Get him out of your locker room.
I agree.
And move on.
Yep. I do want to briefly touch on the Tyreek situation that happened
Please
right before the
do.
game.
This is important. We need to say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah. Okay. If you missed it, you're under a rock. But shortly before the Dolphins' Week 1 game, Tyreek Hill was pulled over for speeding and reckless driving on the way to the stadium in what looked to be a Batmobile. It was some type of supercar.
It was a McLaren.
It was a McLaren. Yeah. It sounded nice in the body cam videos. Yeah. They pull him over. I think they're probably frustrated would be my guess. I'm reading into this, but based off of the ticket infractions that he got, he was probably driving like an idiot. Okay?
Entirely possible. Misdemeanors,
He
though.
knows he's in trouble. He has his ID and everything ready to go. He hands it to him. They explain what's going on. At some point, he rolls this window up. An officer comes up and just starts drilling on the window. And he says, "Don't knock on my window like that. I don't want you touching my window like that." And then they're going back and forth. He's putting out an energy, and he's getting it right back from the police officer.
And right there's the problem.
Yeah. So fast forward, there's some words exchanged. They wanted to roll his window down again. He said, "Man, just give me my tickets. I'm late." No point does he say, "This is who I am." No point does he say, "Do you know who I am?" No point does he flex his personality.
You know who does?
Well, the police did.
The police,
one of them does.
Before they even had his ID.
I'm not sure that it was the hothead, but there were two other guys that knew what was going on. The next thing that happens, they say, "You know what? Could you step out of the car? You know what?" Or something to the effect of, "I'm going to make you get out of the car." And you know what? Get out of the car. They drag him out, put him on the ground face down. He's in cuffs.
3 cops on top of him with knees in their back.
They're cussing him out, calling him stupid. little bit later, they shove him to the ground as he's being sat down. He's explaining he just had knee surgery. They say, you have ear surgery too? Is that why you couldn't hear roll your window down? Just very demeaning. Two other Dolphins, one of them is in cuffs. The other one is either detained or chewed out or given a ticket or something.
The one put in cuffs is a former Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year who has a sterling reputation, who's on the body cam video saying, I'm hands up.
Yep.
I'm just here to de-escalate. I'm not leaving. I'm here to support my teammate. I want to make sure nothing else bad happens. They throw him in cuffs too.
So, 2 tickets. What blew me away is how many people were like, well, I can't believe he's at the game. He must have been given. I've been pulled over. I've been given tickets. Nobody ever told me I couldn't go to work after that. Nobody ever, I'm really annoyed with the sentiment that I'm hearing regarding Tyreek. He should have been more polite. He should have been this. He should have been that. And certainly I can understand that. But the law does not require respect. And our rights do not require politeness at any point. Now, I'm not out here trying to make Tyreek the model figure for patriotism, okay? That's not what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is a speeding ticket does not require you to be dragged out of your car and laid face down. Humiliated and embarrassed. Now,
dragged out of your car by your hair.
Was Tyreek giving back that same energy he was getting? Yes. Was he mouthing off? Yes. But guess what? That is also your protected right to be a jerk with free speech. He didn't cuss him out. So here's the thing: is like he was mouthing him off. Did he cuss him out? What did he say? Did he threaten him? No. And they let him go. There are good cops. There are bad cops. There were some bad cops that day, employed by the Dolphins.
Yes, and you are so much calmer about this than I am, and I'm going to try not to get too fired up. Although I feel like half the time our listeners want me to get fired up.
I disagree, but okay.
You just nailed that on the head. Guys, I don't know about you. I have no desire to live in a police state. I have no desire to live in a world where a cop can make up a law on the spot and then throw me face down on the ground and handcuff me because I don't follow his demand at the moment. We have rights, we have law, and we have protection. Police exist for one reason and one reason only, and that is to enforce the law. They don't get to make up the law. They don't get to ignore your rights because you're rude to them.
It's not their job to teach anyone a lesson.
No, exactly. And what happened in this situation was some working class cops who, rightly or wrongly, obviously have some kind of a chip on their shoulder about the rich athlete, and they're going to teach him that he's not in charge in that situation. And that, my friends, is utter bullshit.
Now, let me insert one thing, and I do think it's fair to say this. It is possible that the emotion, there's a source for it. If he was driving recklessly, if he was nearly causing accidents, if he was weaving in and out and not paying attention, but there would have been another charge. They would have been justified to take him in had he
There would have been a felony charge.
Yes. So, that's the thing of like people not wanting to believe that it was just a traffic infraction. Well, he must have done something. Then the body cam comes out. He didn't.
We're talking about class 3 misdemeanors. We're talking about the lowest level of anything. And again, it can't be stated enough. You said a minute ago, there's good cops and there's bad cops, and I agree. But I'll tell you what, there wasn't a single cop on that site that day that's a good cop. And if you stand there and say, well, they didn't all do it, no, but none of them freaking stopped it either.
Yeah.
So if you don't stop evil when you see it, you're complicit in the evil. Full stop.
Yeah.
The end.
And that is your job. That's part of your job as policing.
Yeah. If the police that you're working with are breaking the law, you enforce that law.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't make up new ones to justify their behavior.
So I know this is going to come as a shock to people, and I know I have friends that are like full blown. In any situation, their first assumption is they must have deserved it. And how many times will we see these things happening on video in front of us where there's no spin to have? There's no other way to view it other than watching it happen right in front of us with these body cams. Before you say, sometimes there are bad cops. And here's the thing. If I go to a fine restaurant, like go to a Cameron Mitchell restaurant, and that chef is burning steaks, you're fired.
Right.
If I am a cashier at Walmart and the line is backed up because I can't manage to do my job and to scan items quickly enough or give proper change, or
They put an auto checkout.
guess what? I'm fired.
Right.
Why is this an industry or role where the assumption is we must save their job first?
Qualified immunity, one of the worst rules and laws that's ever been put into place precedent-wise.
So how do these situations stop happening? And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, don't smart off to a cop. If you've never been pulled over.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Have you never had road rage? Have you never yelled? Have you never been, and maybe you haven't, and props to you. But I think you're missing the point here if you don't see this was a traffic violation that turned into a human being face down in the pavement. And let's not forget, like, there's layers of humility. That's not the cop's fault that Tyreek is famous, right?
Right.
But could it possibly be he was trying to keep a low profile?
And more importantly, again,
He had already given his ID. They had everything.
Yeah. When somebody says, "Well, if he hadn't done this, I don't want to hear any other things that come out of your face." And here's why: there's only one person in an interaction between the police and a citizen who has any responsibility to de-escalate anything. There's one party, and that's the party that's being paid to be there. Mm-hmm. The end. It is not up to the citizen to de-escalate anything. It is up to the police officer who has been trained and is being paid a salary, and in this case being paid 2.5 times his hourly rate by the Dolphins to be there for special duty. That's the only person that has any obligation to de-escalate anything.
Yeah. Now,
and they failed miserably.
And to those of you saying, and those listening that are like, well, he's not exactly a model citizen. He's not how much effort?
None of those things are against the law.
How much effort are you going to put into justifying what you saw on video?
Correct.
And I think my generation, your generation, you have to willfully ignore at this point that these things are happening on a regular basis.
Yep.
You also are stupid if you think some people don't legally earn the opportunity to be taken down and subdued and put in handcuffs.
Correct.
How do we know this? They violate the laws
Right.
the police are paid to enforce.
Yeah. If Tyreek Hill had reached out of his car and punched that police officer,
thrown something at him.
Yeah.
Dumped water on him.
Anything.
Okay, now you're coming.
Yep.
You've assaulted me.
Yes, correct. And now it's a different story. Words are not against the law. Period.
And from what we understand now with a little history, like, he apparently has had a good relationship with police. I don't know whether it's been financial support or he had some police in the family.
Right.
But his tone the whole time has been, things happen in the moment. Like, he has been upright. Now, today or yesterday, there was a press conference where they're like, what do you want? And he said, I want that guy gone. He's got to go. He said with a smile on his face. He's allowed to want that.
Yeah. And I was really impressed that the Dolphins came out with the statement that they did, because I fully expected the NFL to lean on the team to be like, just let this go.
Yeah.
Just let this go. And the Dolphins came out with a very strong statement.
Yeah.
And that was impressive to me. I couldn't imagine Mike McDaniel, just seeing who he seems to be as a person, letting that go. But to see the whole organization stand behind their employee that way was nice.
And those of you that throw a fit about that kind of support, don't forget that when you're demanding the job of the single teenage mother flipping burgers because she forgot your extra large French fry.
Yep.
Because it's the same thing.
100%. 100%.
They're doing their job. I know you're not surprised to hear that I have a strong take on it. Honestly, there wasn't much for me to talk about with this until I began engaging with a lot of people I knew and hearing how they interpreted the situation. And do you
just look at people sometimes and go, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Because I do.
Well, and it's this deep belief that I'm supposed to have this reaction. And obviously some of these things are rooted racially, socially, economically. There's a lot of reasons. I think Tyreek he could have said it so many different ways. He said it really beautifully when he said, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill?
Yeah. And God forbid, like the other person, I've heard other people say the same thing. This particular officer, if he is willing to do that in broad daylight with a body cam on,
I'd venture to guess. This isn't
Imagine
the first time.
Imagine what he would do in the dark with no body cam.
I imagine this isn't the first time he's
Right.
had that temper.
Yep.
You know. Anyway, you hate to see it, hate to hear about it. But once again, it's messed up. It has to get addressed. We've been a little bit more politically motivated today, I think. But
Yeah, this is a subject that has fired me up for 2 or 3 days now. So
yeah. Just remember all of this the next time you get pulled over. You know, and I mean, I grew up in a town where your hands were trembling when the police pulled you over. Like, it was like a big deal for taillights out or a speeding ticket or whatever. But nobody wants to get a ticket.
and again, very much hear this, and this is totally unrelated to sports, and then we will move on. Nobody should, if you have a brain in your head, antagonize another human being that has a gun on their hip. Like, that's just stupid to do. Is it against the law? No. However, you are under no obligation to do anything other than hand that person your license and your registration. You don't have to respond to questions. You don't have to do anything other than roll your window down, hand them your license and registration, and wait for them to give you a ticket. They have about 10 minutes, according to Ohio v. Terry, to do so. And if they don't, call an attorney. The end.
Yeah. It's disappointing. But I knew two things were going to happen. When I found out he was playing, I was like, he's going to have over 100 yards. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. He'd have had more if Tua hadn't missed him 2 or 3 times.
Well, Tua missed him in that first drive for about a 60-yard touchdown.
Oh, yeah, by 10 yards.
Yeah. ahead of him. He didn't underthrow that one.
I texted you, and you were like, we're not doing this year.
The game, so my daughter has a volleyball game at 1:30. I'm walking into the gym with YouTube TV going to watch the game. The game has been on for 1 minute, and he texted. I said, we're not doing this year. This is so annoying. It's almost like he watched the Dolphins more to bug me about Tua, but it wasn't underthrown. I'll leave it at that. Maybe Tyreek
It was side thrown. It was a sideline pass.
It was not underthrown.
True. I'll give you that.
But then he has the walking off in cuffs.
That
and
was an amazing
if you don't
celebration.
realize how amazing that is,
it was
because
amazing.
He never should have been in cuffs.
Yeah,
that's the joke.
That was amazing. Worth the fine. If he gets fined, worth it.
Yeah. I think they might just give him a pass on that one.
Maybe.
All right, what else we got? Is that about it? Let's talk products. So Score dropped this week. Score football. Caleb Williams is not in that product.
Correct. Don't know why. I'm assuming some type of contractual thing.
So why would you want Score now, Jaden?
Jaden, I wouldn't want any part of Bo Nix if you saw any of the Bo Nix experience in Denver, where it was like dink, dunk, miss everybody downfield, which somebody said he didn't have the arm to play in the NFL. I wonder who that – oh, it was me.
So for those of you that listen, let's start a drinking game. How many times I reference when I was right versus how many times G feels the need to talk about.
Y'all gonna get
I don't know if you remember last week when I said, do you remember 2 weeks ago? But 2 weeks ago I reminded you all that a year ago I said this, and there's nothing I like more. You know, the only thing I like more than cards is feeling right.
The point is y'all are going to be drunk.
Yeah. You don't want to play that game. Trust me. But Score dropped. Oh, another one. I got a little. For those of you that like to rip, wax, hit autos, licensed on a budget, there is a product out right now. You could hit a bigger card in it, but it is one that if you're not hanging on to a long time, you'll want to sell very quickly. So Pro Debut has dropped.
Yeah.
There's 2 different formats. There's a regular one that has like their standard hobby, which is 4 autos. And then there's a jumbo at 140 where the autos are all chrome cards.
Yeah, Skeens has already been pulled. The 101's already been pulled.
Skeens 101 has been pulled. There are still several Skeens autos, but I don't know. I mean, what other product are you like? It's probably the most accessible.
Bowman Chrome came out this week, but from an accessibility standpoint, yes. But I mean, it's licensed, but it's minor league uniforms, minor league team names. The stuff doesn't tend to hold value.
The autos will sell.
The autos will sell, but they're going to need to sell pretty quick.
Yes.
And if you just want,
I don't know if you remember that, but I said that 10 minutes ago.
If you just want something, Jason's right. If you just want something to rip that's fun and it's not going to break the bank,
4 autos, $100.
Yeah.
And if the autos aren't worth a bunch, sit on them for a couple years. It may be somebody gets it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's out. Bowman Chrome baseball dropped. Again, I will reiterate the Bowman advice I give you all the time. If you jump into breaks, if you rip, I don't care how much you like the player. If it's hot, sell it. Immediately sell it. And then 6 months from now, buy it back for 25% of what it's worth right now.
What's the Let's Talk Wax? That's the Bowman guy?
Yep.
So I think we've referenced him before. If you haven't seen Let's Talk Wax,
Great YouTube channel.
Breaks down statistically, how guys are playing prospects, what products they're
Shout
in.
out Kyle.
He also just this week dropped a video. I think it's very important to watch. Over the last few years, guys that were in Bowman Chrome, what their first auto went for as
Release
a product
week?
released, then like 6 months later, a year,
Well,
and then now.
it was 6. It was even less than that. It was week of release, 10 days later, 1 month later, and then now a year later. And it's literally an 80% drop, even for the highest name prospects. Sell the stuff immediately. Buy it back later if you like them.
Which, to those of you that are just pure collectors, that sounded so weird to hear that sentence. Like, buy it, sell it, buy it back. But if you like to rip stuff, get hits, gamble a little bit, it's probably a good one for you.
It's free money.
Anything else product-wise? Right now, you were saying that pristine
prices have continued to climb in breaks, and
composite has gone up to.
Yeah, composite composite hobby boxes are up to $500 a piece.
Now I'll tell you this:
retail now, it's like woo.
I ripped a few blasters today at a local card shop, and for what I do on eBay, this stuff is gold.
It's a fun product.
I don't think I've lost on. Well, maybe one of the boxes I lost on, but so I opened 4 blasters. I hit 2 autos out of that, which I think is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Without them being guaranteed. And then, like, low-end rookie quarterback stuff, a lot of $2 to $4 stuff. And then I even hit one that's going for about $75 right now. It's like the Fanatics version of a scope.
The CJ Stroud
out of Cosmic. So, I mean, it's a fun rip. I don't think these hold their value. I really don't.
But you did make a good point, because there's some really good-looking subsets in there.
Yeah.
There will be guys that want to build those sets out.
Yes.
The Midnight cards look really good. The Topps Chrome Cosmics look really good. And just the base Topps Chrome ones are good-looking cards.
I know this is going to be hard to believe, but there are some diehard gallery collectors, and that product was discontinued, and now there are gallery variants in this. So, like, I have a Tom Brady gallery foil variant. Like, it's going to sell really quick. I don't think it'll be a ton of money, but if you're into reselling, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
You got anything else? We got to watch the Dolphins tonight.
No, I think we just covered
listen, now,
all the things.
We can appreciate Allen's talent, but if he hangs like 50 on us, I can't have you like over there applauding him the whole time.
I'll keep it inside.
So we're gonna have to at halftime have a review of how we're doing emotionally
and
decide if we can
out of
endure
your
the
house.
second half. Well, that and my bedtime. I got a big day tomorrow.
You do have a big day tomorrow.
For those of you that want to know, I am having a surgery done.
Snippy.
A little snip. Let's just say there are 4 bags of peas in the freezer.
I was terrified when you told me that you're not being put under for this.
I didn't know that you didn't know this.
I didn't know this because, one, I've never had any desire to have this, and I'm almost 50 now, so I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it wouldn't happen unless I was being put under.
Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but there's a hospital in the Philippines.
Let's not go down this rabbit hole.
And Tebow said
Is Tim Tebow going to help me with that?
Tebow said he'd put you under.
Oh, no. I don't like this game.
If you know, you know. This has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
Bye now.
Peace.